So today I'm going to show you step by step how you can take a Misumi slide, some 3D printed adapters, and mount it up so that you can drive your linear slides using belts. I'm going to have the full CAD file for you down below, and let's go take a look at how you can go about assembling this system. You're going to need a couple of my 3D printed adapters. 2 of them are mirrored to each other, and 1 of them is an end stop. So for many stages you have, you'll need at least 2 per stage. Then you'll need at least 1 end stage, and then so many Misumi slides. Any of the 200 series, any of the 300 series will work for this. This design also uses the GoBilda Viper Slide conversion kit. So there's a bunch of metal parts you get. We're gonna use some of those parts for this, so you can take a look in the description down below for that. This is also gonna be using G2 timing belt with a 6mm width. So let's get started with making our motor mount. I'm gonna grab a single piece of GoBilda U-channel here, as well as a quad pillow block. We're gonna mount this down below, and we'll secure this down with a couple of screws. Now I'm securing this from the top and the right-hand side because our slides are gonna be hitting up into this side and we don't wanna have any bolts sticking out. We're gonna go ahead and add this piece of U-channel. I find 14 or 15 hole works well. So I'm gonna go ahead and mount this in with 2 bolts from the bottom. Let's go put our motor on next. I'd recommend you use a 435 RPM motor. It tends to be really good in between for moving linear slides for power, as well as enough power to lift your robot off the ground. I'm going to use button head screws here because we need to have really tight tolerances to our motor. So our button head allows us to get a little bit closer to our mount. I recommend you Loctite these as well as add 4. I'm only adding 2 just for demonstration purposes today. Next, let's go ahead and prepare 4 of our motor mounts. I have 2 mirrored with each other, 2 of the exact same, 2 of the mirrored. And we start by prepping these out with an M3 lock nut. An M3 lock nut goes in the bottom of these designs, just pushes in there like that. Then for the actual belt securing section, we're going ahead and take a M4 lock nut, slide it in that top section, make sure it's nice and square up at the top. We can take our M4 bolt, slide through 2 idler bearings right here. Slide through 2 idler bearings, slide on this metal cap. Then you can see on here, there's a little section that's curved out for that ring to sit inside. We're gonna go ahead and mount this in with it flat against the bar there. Now the first one in our stage, we're going to mount at a 90-degree angle like so. And then the rest of them, we're gonna mount flat like so. So those are the 4 stages all done here. Let's go ahead and do our final stage. Final stage is slightly different. We still take our M4 lock nuts in, but this time we're gonna run a 10mm standoff through the top of our screw here. With all your adapters set up, we're now ready to start actually mounting this. We're going to put the first stage on. You gotta make sure that your linear slide extends out past that point. So we're gonna grab that one that we put on a 90-degree connection, facing the 90-degree down, and we're gonna throw an 8mm M3 screw into that lock nut that we put on the back end of this adapter. We're gonna do the same thing to the other side, making sure that we're using the mirrored section so that our holes end up on the same side. Now with these Misumi slides, you notice if I move them over, I can actually get my hole through the center of that 3rd stage for my SAR 330s. Let's get this mounted onto our unit. And we can line up our M4 holes here. I'm using an 18mm bolt to get this through. Now, in order to mount this next stage on top, I like to use a house nut. It's kind of like a sleeved nut that allows you to insert inside, but in order to fit these, typically, the Misumi slides come with M3 hole. We need to make it a M4 hole so that these things, an M4.5. So these things can slide through nice and easily. So let's go over to the drill press and we're gonna extend this out, give it a nice little clamp, making sure that we're gonna get straight through on this hole here. Let's change that. So make sure that when you drill through, you're actually gonna clear through and you're not going to actually lose half of your piece there. So let's actually drill through with a 4.5mm hole. I'm gonna back the camera up a bit here so you can see. Should be nice and easy. We'll do the same thing on the other side. There we we go. Clear out any aluminum chips. Now we've got our holes ready to rock. So with those holes enlarged, we're now good to go ahead and mount these next sections in. I'm gonna go ahead and throw both on this time because they clip on nice. And then we'll double check that our slide is going to the wide side, and then the ones with the holes we just drilled need to face down onto our other slides. And then up at the top, I'm gonna put that sleeve nut through, put an M2 on one side, and on the other side of it, we're gonna use another 8mm screw to drill in from the bottom here. And we're gonna add our last stage on now, which is the side with the two 10mm standoffs that we put in. We can go ahead and run another 8mm M3 screw through that. And we're just about assembled. Let's go ahead and put another idler bearing on here. I'm gonna grab myself a 18mm screw. We're gonna set up our same idler setup like we had before. And this one's gonna act as a belt tensioner to stop our belt from sliding off. So in this one, we're gonna add it right in line with this side of our motor mount. On this one, we want the metal section facing down. We're now ready to throw on our pulley. With our pulley, we're gonna grab a sonic hub, and it's got a little lip on here. We're gonna face that sonic hub against, or that little lip into the plastic pulley. And then we're gonna throw some 10mm screws in on this side. Now, similar to the string slides, you have to make sure that your belt is in line with your pulleys. So when I slide this on, I'm gonna slide it on the other way so that the pulley is facing against it. As I spin this, you'll notice that I kind of pull out and then slide back in when I get into those holes. I'm gonna twist it until I get to the point where I'm facing out. And then I'm gonna clamp this sonic hub down, because that will get me perfectly in line with my pulleys. Now, stringing one of these up is not terribly difficult. We're gonna grab our G2 timing belt. Now I'm gonna start by connecting one side to the start of our pulley. We're gonna get nice and tight here, and now here's where these little belt clamps from GoBilda come in handy. And I'm gonna have it so that the timing belts are facing towards, or the teeth are facing towards our timing belt here. We'll go ahead and slide our timing belt on. And I'm actually gonna expand this a bit. Take a slot screwdriver, expand that, because as you clamp it down, it makes it a little bit more tough. With one side of the timing belt clamped on, we can now go ahead and start actually feeding through our system. I'm gonna come down through our system here. We're going to come through this pulley, up and over this pulley, back through this pulley with the teeth facing down, up and through the next pulley, back up and through this last pulley, and then pull the tension out of the system to be able to get us up and around there. Now comes the challenging part of making sure you've got enough tension on your system. So you can pull yourself nice and taut. I'm also going to grab another slot screwdriver here and expand my belt clamp a little bit more, because as you tighten and clamp these things down, they get a little bit harder to slide on. Pull nice and taut, clamp those teeth together, and pull in nice and close to the top here. Go ahead and clamp it down. We should know we've got pretty good tension, because it should sound a bit like a guitar. And we can give it a little test here. So I've rigged up a really quick system here. It's essentially just a motor attached up to a radio controller, so we can take a look at this thing powered up. Now this is running on a 312 RPM motor, not a 435, so it's gonna go a little bit slower than I would expect your performance to be. Now one thing you're gonna notice here is as if I go past my endpoint, I'm gonna start grinding on my belt. And that ball bearing can be resting gently against your pulley so that it provides a little bit of extra tension and doesn't skip. And pressing down on this will help that out a little bit more, adding a little bit more tension on this. So I hope you found that helpful, and best of luck with turning your Misumi slides into a belted slide system.